Welcome to Action Hour podcast. I have breaking news. America's wild horses need your help today. Two critical dates, July 2nd and July 8th, could determine the fate of wild horses across the West. Major decisions are being made, and hundreds of horses face helicopter roundups that could separate families and send many of them into government holding facilities. Today, I'm joined by three leading wild horse advocates to explain what's happening. Let's talk to them now.
Welcome. I'm here with Karen Sussman and Craig Downer. Both are wild horse advocates and I would say experts. They've both been advocating for wild horses for many years. And we have some breaking news for you today. We have action you actually have to take today. Karen, would you explain to everyone why they have to contact the BLM today for the horses to protect them?
Well, what they are doing today is developing a programmatic environmental assessment, and it's going to be very important that everybody responds to this, because I can tell you from my understanding that not only did I respond to it yesterday, but the important thing is that the government is asking for people, including the livestock people, to respond to this. So it's going to be extremely critical that people respond, and it's about the NEPA process, and basically they want input on wild horse and burro management, and I think it's critical that we give them the best input that we can.
Right. Craig, would you like to weigh in on that? Craig, can you hear me?
Yeah, I had my input on the 30th of June, and this is very serious because, I gave my input on the 30th of June, and this is a very serious proposal because it largely exempts the public lands ranchers and the BLM and the, I guess it probably influenced the Forest Service too, from abiding by environmental laws and Wild Horse and Burro Act when it comes to their plans for the wild horses. In other words, they're not valuing the wild horses and burros, and they're letting the big monopolizers of the public lands call the shots, and that's outrageous. That's subverting the true intent of the laws, and including the National Environmental Policy Act, which governs all major acts that are decided. So I really urge you to do that, and I'd be glad to share my input, which I have as a file. I could give anyone that has several.
Well, this is something that has to be done today, from what I understand, right? Yeah. So I think what we have to emphasize, I think what we have to emphasize right now is that we have a link in the upper right of the screen with the little duck in the middle. That is actually a link for you to take action. And you can just simply, in your own words, go to that. I think I have a picture of what it's going to look like when you go there. Hopefully this is the right one. And you see here where it says participate now.
Yes.
Craig, is that correct, Craig?
Yeah, that's correct. You click on there,
so that's
and
what you're going to see.
Characters.
Yeah, that's what you're going to see. And then if you can take action right there, we need you to take action today. I would like to talk about why this is so important. We're going to get into the weeds of all the things. I know you guys have a lot to share with us, but why it's so important, like what happens to the horses when they're rounded up.
Yeah, well, they'll be eliminated pretty much from their legal areas or taken down to extremely low genetically non-viable levels, and they'll allow the ranchers to have even more of a monopoly and the other interests in their legal habitats where they're supposed to be the principal resource recipients. So they're really subverting the true intent and spirit of the Wild Free Roaming Horse and Burros Act, and ignoring the general public in this wonderful quality of life issue. By treating these wonderful animals as misfits, and the truth is they're all the opposite. They're actually deeply rooted North American natives that are wonderful restorers of ecosystems as keystone species that have returned to their lands.
Yes. So please, we're gonna cover a lot of stories. It appears that what's happening, and I want to ask both of you your opinion on this. It seems like it's always been, the cattle ranchers or other corporate interests come in and take over the horses' land that's rightfully theirs. But it seems like it's accelerated. Do you feel, Karen, that it has? And if so, why do you think it's even with all of these action items? We have so many things happening to the horses. Why do you think that's happening right now?
Well, I believe that it has been going on throughout history where the cattlemen have always had a greater right to the land, even though that they have a privilege, the horses have a right. But this has continued. But in this particular administration, they're very proactive cattle. And what they're going to do is reduce all kinds of regulations that the cattle people have to do in order to keep their permits going. And there's going to be fewer regulations for the cattle, when in essence, there already has been for years no regulations for cattle people. The BLM has been, and the Forest Service has been negligent in being able to monitor the habitat to determine who actually is doing damage. When they find out that the cattle are doing the damage, they ignore it.
Yes, that seems to be the story that we continue to hear. And this, like I said, this has been going on and it seems to be accelerating. We are not, Unchained TV is not a political channel. We're animal rights and conservation channel. So we do not take political sides. We want to state that right now, but we are not in favor of either side encroaching. And I think both corporate interests on both sides have done so in the past. Craig, I want to ask you the next question. We have another date coming up. The next date is July 8th, and they are actually doing an actual roundup on that date. Can you talk about that a little bit? And I'm going to show the footage again where we show what's happening with the roundup. So go ahead. Talk about that.
That's for the Montgomery Pass wild horse herd. That's one of the most pristine, un-PZP'd, ungonaconned, uncastrated herds that's been studied for many years, and it's a vibrant, vital herd that they're trying to gut this herd. And I did an appeal on this, and we've done a TRO, and so have two Native American tribes. So it's not certain that the roundup will start. However, I think it would be good if you contact the Inyo National Forest, and I've given you the website, and you just go on Contact Us, and you can voice your opinion, and that's bound to make a difference. If you're
I want to make Craig, I want to make sure I can bring up the right one. Oh, here we are, Montgomery herd, correct?
I sent you that link.
That's it right there. It's up in the corner now. So Craig, as Craig's explaining and talking, tell us a little bit more about why they're picking on this herd and what is so wrong with what they're doing, the science behind it.
It's because we delved into this, both the medical doctor and the professional nature filmer.
Welcome to Action.
Sherry Tobin and Carl Mrozek. And we discovered that this is kind of a setup against these animals, whereby they have excluded them from vital water sources and basically not given them any value in their own right, but they've caved into mainly the ranchers, the cattle and sheep. There are a lot of sheep there, and also to people who just use the wild horses as a political pawn to favor, say, game hunting interests, including there in California. So it's really a terrible thing they're trying to do. They're trying to scapegoat the horses for all kinds of things, just because they move around and not taking any measures to take steps to avoid these problems, which some common sense steps could be taken, and they could avoid these problems and still have one of America's truly vital and pristine and unaltered herds that dates back from the early days and has a lot of Spanish heritage and historical value, and thousands of people love to see these horses. And as I say, one of the very most studied horses, if not the most studied. And I've known about them since I was a boy.
I'm going to let Karen jump in a second and comment on that. But I want to show people, if you click on the link that I have up there in the corner near Karen, this is what you'll come to. They'll contact us. Now, you just need to put your comments in here. So maybe the both of you, start with Craig quickly, Craig, so we can get to Karen. What would you tell them to say when they click on that link right there?
Yeah. This is a wonderful, healthy, vital herd that's known to be self-stabilizing in its numbers, and that helps create beautiful meadows out there. And it's a part of the food chain, of course, with the mountain lions. There's a hefty mountain lion population there. And if they gut this herd and take, 2/3 or more of the herd, they will set back all their genetic viability and their ecological adaptations that they've been doing for, centuries. And
okay, that's a lot for them to write, Craig, but we just want to give them a couple of lines. But
I would say let's value the Montgomery Pass Mustang herd in its own right, and let's stand up. Let's have our public officials, according to the law, not just the wild horse law, but several laws, let's have them stand up for the true spirit and intent of these wonderful laws, to learn.
Okay, Karen, can you go ahead and comment on that one? So just to remind you, we're talking about the Montgomery Pass horses. Go ahead.
Right. And basically, it would be a simple letter to the government to say, please save these horses from being rounded up. When you round up these horses, you destroy their family bands and destroy them forever. Do not round up the horses.
Right.
That's as simple as that. Yeah. They don't have to get into detail. They're just people who are concerned about these horses. Just a simple sentence or two. That's all they really need to say.
Right. And I want to just tell people how important this is to take these actions today. Now, even if we're past the date, you're seeing this afterwards, still contact them, because once we raise that public awareness, or rather our politicians, once we raise their awareness that we are watching, we see things change. We just went through the Ridgeland Farms dogs and that lab closing. So many things happening when activists take action. So please, those of you out there watching, whenever you see this, please click on these links and take the actions we're talking about. I think that's. I
wanted to mention one thing.
Go ahead, and we're going to move to the next subject. But go ahead, Craig.
There's another really devastating proposal, which is to exclude the environmental oversight of the public lands ranchers, and the input on that is due on July 13th, and that's extremely important, because if they exclude them from Endangered Species Act and National Environmental Policy Act and all the other acts, wilderness and administrative, then that would give them even more monopoly on the public lands. In other words, they would be totally calling the shots for the BLM and the Forest Service on public land ranching permits.
Okay, did you give me that link previously?
Yeah, I gave you that information about that.
Is that the toolkit proposal?
Yeah, that's
okay.
The toolkit.
Let's put that up for a moment here before we go on.
And, that's extremely important.
Yes, and with that one, I've also set up, I believe, a link, which I'm going to put at the top, all of these links of this broadcast. But if you scroll down in there, you will see who to contact, and there's even a little paragraph of what to say. because a lot of times people are afraid to speak. But let me tell you, your voice has so much power. I think a lot of people get intimidated, and they shouldn't. This is so important.
Yeah, show you care. And if you've been there, mention that I go here, and this is a big part of my life, you know, for my quality of life and what it means to them personally. Yeah.
Okay, we want to move on so that we can cover everything. And I will give you guys each a chance at the end if we miss something that you feel is really important. But Karen, I want to put the focus on you and the Heber herd. I know you've been really, really busy. So tell us what is going on and how people can help you support you.
Okay. Our organization's been involved in saving the Heber herd of northern Arizona. They're really, in my book, the last herd on public lands that has literally been untouched from roundups and from a lot of manipulation. And it's been more than 20 some years. So in 2007, we filed a stipulation agreement with the Forest Service that they need to manage them in 3 areas. And so we have participated throughout all these years to make sure that we can protect this herd. And very interestingly, just in January, the acting superintendent, his name is Mr. Miller, he put out a letter stating that these horses are not even going to be protected under the Wild Horse and Burro Free Roaming Wild Horse and Burro Act, but they are going to be unauthorized livestock. And so if they're unauthorized, they don't fall under any law. So we are in court as of April 23rd. ISPMB is suing them right now, and the court case is proceeding. I imagine that by July 15th, we'll have an idea of when we're actually going to be in the actual court. We've been just filing papers back and forth, but the Forest Service has completely defied these horses as wild and free roaming. And honestly, this is what we won in 2005 when we initiated the lawsuit and the stipulation in 2007. They've completely ignored it and just say that they're unauthorized. So everybody, please please contact us. We can help you to let you know what you need to be doing as we move forward, because the case is going to continue to change throughout the next 2 weeks.
Great. And as you see right next to Karen, that is the link. You just take a picture of that with your phone. I'm sure everybody's familiar, but if you're not, you go to your camera, you take a picture of it with your phone. A little box comes up at the bottom. You see that, folks? You see that? And then that shows you it's going to the website. So there you go. It's as easy as that. Contact Erin. She needs your help. She's doing amazing work, as is Greg. Craig, I'm going to let you weigh in here on the Heber herd, because I know that you worked with all the herds.
Yeah, I did a study. I worked a lot with Karen and ISPMB, and I did a study in 2021. I worked with assistants there that Karen introduced me to. And it's a wonderful herd. It's known to be self-stabilizing and also to be very good catastrophic wildfire preventers by taking down the dry, flammable vegetation. But there's some kind of mean-spirited people around there that even they shoot them every year or so, especially around Christmas and New Year's time. And there just seems to be kind of a negativity, and that the Forest Service is in on this. The Apache Sitgraves National Forest there and the Black Mesa Ranger District. So yeah, I really have so much admiration for these herds, such beautiful animals, and we need officials that really protect them and not always look for excuses to get rid of them or cripple their populations. And same thing with the Montgomery Pass or any of the herds, like the Callahan herd in Nevada or the Pine Nut herd here where I live. They're just, everyone is special in their own right, and all the burro herds too. Wonderful burro herds, and I heard that many of them are being decimated too. like
Yeah.
the Lake Pleasant burro herd in near Lake Havasu in Arizona.
Okay. I want to cover the other two action items we have, and then I'll circle around to each of you, and anything we didn't discuss, we'll get into more. The next one, I believe, is the Virginia Range herd. The what is it called? The Washoe herd?
Washoe, yeah, Washoe,
Yeah, the
after
Washoe
the
herd.
Indians.
Okay, let's hear about what's going on with that. And Karen, if you want to mention, talk next.
Yeah, I've been really involved in that, and I did an article in the Reno News and Review. But this is really a nasty move by the between the Nevada Department of Agriculture and the Bureau of Land Management. They issued a categorical exclusion, which excludes them from the NEPA requirements to do an environmental assessment or environmental impact study. And this is a major part of the historic Virginia Range herd. Remember, that's the cradle of the wild horse movement in America, is the Story County and the Virginia Range. That's where Wild Horse Annie first got going, you know. So this would just be atrocious, and it would put them in, if they were fenced off of that southern end of the Washoe Lake, where they're, by the way, having a really good effect by creating beautiful meadows and all the kind of birds and insects, and there's a lot of willow trees and cottonwoods, and it's a thriving ecosystem. It's just a nasty thing. And there are certain common sense things they could do on that East Lake Road, like putting in certain overpasses, putting in lower speed limits, speed bumps, or certain fence patterns that would enable them to cross without having the collisions. And they don't have all that many collisions really there. And they wouldn't put them into that desperate situation where they had to go up into the dry mountains, where they claim they're springs, but there really aren't very many springs, and many of them have, with the droughts, they're much lesser, and that would force them over into Highway 50 to try to get to the Carson River, and that's where they really would be hit on Highway 50, because there's a lot of people that commute from Carson City out to those urban communities out by Silver Springs. So we know it's a nasty trick, and we had a huge demonstration on the 13th of June, and hundreds and hundreds of people showed up to protest. They just love these horses, and they're a major part of their quality of life. So I think we can win on this, and some politicians are coming in now too, on the side of the wild,
well, that's encouraging. I just want people to know that here is the link again. Each of these links are here, so you can go back, freeze the camera, click, freeze the video, and then click your camera, get the link, and just sign this petition. We've seen this with even with other breeds, other animals. We saw this with the Thule elk. They tried to starve them out, and luckily people took action.
Yeah.
And it takes the public's action. I can't emphasize enough. These people are only two people. They do amazing work.
That was Point Reyes, right?
Much without your help.
Point Reyes Thule elk that we saved. Yeah, I was part of that. I went and testified, and I used to go there when I was a student at Berkeley to study the seashore.
Okay, Karen, did you want to weigh in on that at all? What we were just talking about, the current roundups with the other.
Yeah, I think the thing that I really wanted to get out to everybody today is we need to really press the government on a different way of managing these wild horses, because the way they're currently managing, they're going to manage them to extinction. And that is with roundups every 4 years. They're destroying their family bands. And that's one thing our organization has done for the past 25 years, is study wild herd behavior. And we think we have pretty much an authority on how to do this and how to do it effectively. So my goal is to get everybody out there to stop the roundups and to allow the horses to, again, be able to, I guess really they need to have some sort of rest time because within every 4 years, the government says that they double every 4 years, and that their birth rates are 20% every year. And they call that the Win Equus program. And sadly, I think through the fear of trying to scare everybody, they're saying by 2040, the population of wild horses will be 2.8 million horses. Now, we know we've just done this. It's in our lawsuit with the Heber herd right now. We believe that we have enough information now to be able to show that their Win Equus program that determines that 20% annual or daily, or I should say yearly growth rate and doubling every 4 years is based on injured herds and not healthy, sustainable herds that haven't been rounded up in 20 some years like the Heber herd. So I think this is critical information that needs to get out to everybody, because it's the Win Equus program that really is going to put the fear in congressional people, put the fear in other people to say that if we don't do something, they're going to keep growing.
Now, do you have a link or some way that people can connect with the Win Equus program?
Actually, I have a whole paper on it. So, I mean, if anybody wants it, I can
contact you at your organization.
They should contact me. In fact, I just sent it to the government yesterday. And basically, based on our herd that we have too, which shows what happens and what is necessary to be able to save the horses once they have been rounded up in 4 years. You have to really stop these roundups. And I think that's going to be critical. But we have to understand why we need to stop the roundups. It's not to do anything else but to allow these herds to recover from their injuries that they have received. You know, it's like when you go into a family in a community, let's say a community of 100 people, if you go in and you pull out a mother in one family, a father in another family, children in another family, what kind of family community do you have? It's the same thing with the herd. When they round them up, they destroy all of their family structures. And through our 20 some years of study, we understand that family structures are critical to minimizing growth. And the Heber herd is under 3% growth. It's not a 20% daily or yearly growth. And this Heber herd could really show what we need to do to be able to change the management of wild horses. But we're destroying the horses by rounding them up every 4 years. We're destroying their family bands, and we can't do that any longer. Never.
That's so critical that that information gets out to the public. Now we have one more herd we're going to talk about for a moment. It's the saltwater herd. Craig, you gave me the information, so I'm going to let you take the lead on that.
Yeah, again, that Tonto National Forest has really done a dirty trick by claiming that they want to zero them out. And in spite of all the many people who rallied to their for their preservation. And I actually did 2 studies there, one with Simone Netherlands in 2012, and then another with support from the Friends of Animals in defending their rights. And I found that many of the claims against them were phony claims, like claiming they're destroying the habitat. And I proved that there was abundance of plants and birds, and that they were actually keeping the river going by eating the eelgrass and also transporting nutrients through their droppings up into the drier hills around there, and greatly enhancing the dry desert ecosystem as well. And plus they were very popular among the people. And but you know, it's this old cabal that keeps they're I guess they're insanely greedy, or they're jealous of the wild horses' beauty and harmony. I don't know what's going wrong with these people, but they really need to shape up and come clean and learn to share. And they were there in 1971, so they should have legal right there, as Simone and others proved. I was part of the interviews we did with those people, went around in the kayaks, and it's just a really beautiful place. and thousands and thousands of people come there, and they just love the wild horses. They take pictures of them, and there's so much harmony there. It would be such a sin to eliminate them. By the way, that area, that south lower Salt River, is the second most popular recreational site of any U.S. Forest Service site.
I know. Go ahead, Karen. Go ahead.
I think for the people to understand that the Salt River wild horses were never protected under the 1971 law. They're protected by the state, and that makes a big difference in trying to issue protections for these horses. So that needs to be explained.
Oh yeah, but
Can you get into that a little bit more? So what happened?
Basically, in 1971, by 1974, they identified where horses were all over the actually, I think there were 14 western states. The Salt River horses were never identified as wild and free roaming, even though that they're on Forest Service land. And an interesting fact is that our herd that we managed, the Gila herd, which was found in southern Arizona, those horses weren't identified as wild and free roaming. But in 1996, Secretary Babbitt did, after ISPMB did 3 months of investigation, and we showed that those horses were there prior to, for the oldest rancher that I interviewed, there was 12 hours of tape. But Secretary Babbitt declared them as wild and free roaming. I think for the Salt River horses, it would be difficult to be able to do that again today. The Gilas were identified in 1996. It was the only herd since 1974 to be identified as wild and free roaming. We did try to do it with the Alpine horses. We had a witness. That would have been perfect. But we did file a lawsuit against the Forest Service to protect them. They were never identified as wild and free roaming. So sadly, our witness became a hostile witness because his family made him do that. But anyway, we weren't able to secure that herd as wild and free roaming. It's very difficult now to ever do that again.
Because of all of these different groups, such as the cattle ranchers and drillers, oil drillers, and all these different companies coming and encroaching. What about the data centers? Is that a threat? Have you heard anything about moving, and it's particularly because they take up so much water, et cetera? Anybody have any thoughts?
I think what I'd like to notify everybody about is that public lands are at risk now because they want to privatize public lands. If public lands are privatized, that means that wild horses will not be protected on them, but they will come under state control. And I know when Wild Horse Annie, who was our first president, worked so hard to make sure that the states were never in control of the wild horses because she knew what would happen to them. This is why we had federal legislation to protect them. And so this could be devastating if we lose our public lands. So everybody, please keep an eye out for any changes, any sale of public lands to privatize this. It'll be devastating for the horses.
Yeah. Absolutely agree. I'm going to bring Craig in now and let him comment. Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I want to go back to the Salt River because, I did the book, The Wild Horse Conspiracy. And Arizona was one of the very worst states for doing shenanigans to not recognize legal herds of wild horses and burros, particularly wild horses. There were many places where there were wild horses, unbranded and unclaimed in 1971, but because of this dishonesty and mean-spiritedness, they overlooked them. And when I went around, when I was first asked by Simone to go around and we interviewed people, we came across a lot of people who claimed they were there in 1971 in the river, and they were unbranded and unclaimed. Of course, their ruse, as they're using in the Hebrew, to say, oh no, well no, they were really the Native Americans, the Hohokams, or they were this ranchers or that ranchers. But that's a ploy. I mean, if they were their horses, they should have been removing and caring for them, and they weren't. They were wild, free roaming horses. So what appears to be just on the superficial, statements as to why this or that or the other thing isn't always very true to the spirit and intent of the law.
Okay, well, I think we covered quite a bit. Is there anything else that I know, Craig, you're going to be, there's a filming of Wild Beauty. You want to mention that real quickly?
Oh yeah, Sky Valencia with the St. Martin's Animal Rescue is going to have a real good event this coming Sunday, the 5th of July in Prescott at the library, City Library. And I was supposed to be there, but my car's old Forester developed some difficulties. But I will be there by Zoom, and I will talk about the situation with both wild horses and burros and what we can do to stop this. It would be really tragic if these people who seem vicious in nature get their way on the public lands, and about the wild horse and burros and about everything else too, endangered species, wilderness areas, combating global warming, polluting air and water. I mean, these people are on a roll, and it's not a good roll, I tell you. We're really being challenged to stand up, and the wild horse and burros are extremely important part of this, because they're returned, deeply rooted natives who restore and enhance biodiversity and ecological well-functioning and resilience, which is very important today because of the global changes that are occurring.
I'd like to just add to that, because in simplistic terms for people, that horses have been around for nearly 60 million years. They're native to the North American continent. Human beings have only been around for 8 million years. And horses have learned to live in harmony with their habitat, with nature. And I think we should take the time to understand wild horses so we can learn how to live in harmony with each other.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, it's really good.
Well said. And as you both have stated clearly, it doesn't just affect the horses, it affects everyone. The ecosystem. Yes. The horses have been here forever. They're part of the ecosystem, and they're important and they're needed. And Craig has come on over and over and talked about their fecal matter and how it
they build the soils and feed the plants. Yeah.
So one of the things, I just want to leave people with this infographic here, and to ask them, like you both said, please take action. Go check out the BLM and see what their policies they have going on. They have these notices, come and give your opinion, but no one does. So that they love that. So let's get in there and start having our voices heard. Up here, this number is so good, because you just call that, give them your zip code, and they'll tell you who their representatives and senators are, and you guys will be surprised. We just finished doing a call-a-thon for another cause, and all of a sudden the politicians started snapping to and taking notice. When 50, 60 people are calling into their line in one day, it does make them take notice. So we all need to take action. This is so important.
Yeah,
Any last words?
Yeah, the Secretary of Interior is Doug Burgum from North Dakota, and Deb Holland's long gone. She was
that old information? Yeah. I will update that. Thank you. I'll get that updated.
Yeah, and I just want people to know, in Arizona, the 2 Republican representatives are on a committee with 2 other people, one from Nevada and one from Tennessee, and they're supporting the horses in Arizona, and I'm very proud of them for doing that.
That's awesome.
And it's Representative Swigert and Representative, and I'm not going to pronounce it right, from Tucson, Kokosimi or something like that, I think. I can't remember his name, but they're both very supportive of wild horses.
Great. Yeah, a
Well,
lot of people appreciate them. And also the burros. Don't forget the burros. They're very important.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
We
I
never
wanted to say
talk about them.
they dig, sniff out and dig with the water sources in the dry desert, and they create oases that cause the desert to flourish. Plants, animals, insects, and horses do that too, by the way. But burros are famous for doing that. And Dr. Eric Lundgren, who's a friend of mine, he did like a PhD thesis at that Arizona University on that.
All right. Well, thank you both for being on. I hope everyone will listen and take action for the beautiful horses. We have a very short window to turn things around, and your voices can do that. So please do. Thank you for watching Action Hour. Karen Sussman, Craig Downer, thank you both so much for being on today, sharing your insights. We'll have you both on again, I hope soon, with good news. Wait, I have one last thing to play that I forgot to play, and I want people to see it because speaking in terms of good news, let's just watch this before.
I had a little pep in my step this morning because I was just checking in on the Federal Register to see how many of you have submitted comments on the proposed federal grazing regulations for the Bureau of Land Management, and it turns out it's a lot. Look at that. 102,000 of you have submitted comments. Y'all, thank you. So cool. For those of you who are new here, let me tell you what these proposed regulations mean very quickly. Okay, so these proposed regulations would reshape how 155 million acres of public lands are being managed. Among other things, they would ban conservation bison from grazing public lands at all, meaning native bison restoration would be banned on public lands because of the commercial livestock industry. Key water quality protections would be stripped away, public participation would be eviscerated in grazing decisions, and these regulations would make it easier to expand livestock grazing even when public lands are being damaged and wildlife is suffering. And they are. Private livestock grazing on public lands is the largest commercial use of federal lands, and it's the leading cause of species endangerment in the West, of riparian damage, and of land health failures. Okay, we have until July 13th to continue to make our voice heard. So if you would like to be sent all of the information that you need, please comment grazing on this post and we'll DM you with all of the information. Okay, love you. I got a little pep in my...
That's really good. Yeah.
Good news, right? And that was the Western Watershed Project. If anybody wants to go on Instagram and follow, you could take that action.
Yeah, they did a webinar called Grazing Without Guardrails recently that was really excellent.
You can look it up. All right, folks, please help us with the horses. We can do this. Thanks for being on, everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Karen.